I'm here today to address some of the nagging issues in the state and also to elucidate, throw more light on what is going on thus far, especially when we consider the statement or the media chat by our former governor, who is now the FCT minister, Wike. You will agree with me that the major problem has to do with what I call the pestilence of Godfatherism and its resistance. And the former governor, who is now the FCT minister, finds it difficult. He's yet to come to terms with the fact that while he thought he was going to a third term in office by proxy, the man who succeeded him, knowing too well what Rivers people went through in the last 8 years, has decided to hew us out of that mountain of despair and frustration. I'm talking of the present governor in the person of Fubara. He was his DFA while I was in office, before I resigned. Then eventually became the Accountant General. You will all agree with me that he worked closely with the governor, then governor, who is now the FCT minister. And of course, I want to believe his hands were a little bit fettered, and so there are so many things, even if you oppose, because we had a governor who was impervious to criticisms. All those who reasoned that tangent to him, we are dealt with one way or the other, especially in the last governorship election and national assembly elections. We can hear we all know of the story of Farah Dagogo. We all know of Chinyere Igwe. We all know of, we have a lot of them, even hotels that were short, filling stations and so on. And most of them were hounded. What was their crime? Simply because they declared interest to partake. And the former governor refused or failed to understand that even by thinking he was giving himself so much credit, he was inadvertently damaging his reputation and letting the world know, or underscoring the fact that he was a dictator when he said he bought all the forms for PDP candidates and aspirants, as at that time aspirants, and he sponsored all their elections. That is anti-democratic to start with. And that also goes to bolster the fact that it was more or less a dictatorship. It simply means only those you wanted to aspire, and only those you wanted emerged as candidates. That's the simple truth. And so all those who of their own wanted to buy forms were harassed one way or the other, and their businesses were badly affected. Some businesses were shut, some they are accused of all sorts of trumped-up charges. So each time he said he bought all the forms, he thought it was like a glorifying thing. No. He was inadvertently damaging himself. But it's so unfortunate that he failed to appreciate that fact. Then he went further to also ask in his media chat if any of these persons can talk to their House of Assembly members and the House of Assembly members will listen. What does that tell you invariably? It simply means he is responsible for the contumacious attitude of the assembly members. He is the one telling them what to do. They are just pawns on his chessboard, political chessboard. And why is that the case? Because if you ask him today to come and contest in Rivers State in a free and fair election, we all know what happened in the last Google election. We're all journalists, and I believe you have the facts, even if you're not going to come out openly because of what INEC did by stamping what I call the ineptitude. But if today if he says he can tell his assembly members and they will do what they want to do, it simply means because he bought the forms for them, he sponsored them, they are tied to his apron strings. That's what it means. Now, what is the problem? Ego. The FCT minister kept talking about gratitude, ingratitude, and so on. And I asked a simple question. Who is the worst ingrate? Maybe most of you have failed to take on the advisement, the issues in the last, let me say, from the days of Peter Odili. On several occasions, he said that Governor Odili was responsible for his return as local government chairman. And he will owe his political height to Peter Odili. Because but for that return, re-election, he wouldn't have been anywhere right there. He would have been a political force to be reckoned with. And he also went a step further on Peter Odili's birthday to say, God will punish him any day he goes against Peter Odili. He said, social media is everywhere. In his media chat, he denied it. He said he never said so. But the social media will not lie. It's for life. Today, he said, he's part ways with Governor Peter Odili. And when they asked him, he said, he never said, oh, he will never part ways. Is that not an act of ingratitude? Let us also go to Rotimi Chukwukamechi. He was the chief of staff to Rotimi Chukwukamechi, his principal. We are all seized of what happened between, for his own selfish ambition. For his own selfish ambition, we are all seized of what happened between Rotimi Chukwukamechi and the FCT minister. What was the problem? Amechi said it was the time for the River Rhine, the turn of the River Rhine. And he said no. That was the major problem. He was Rotimi's chief of staff. Are they on times today? The answer is no. Who was also responsible for his emergence as governor of Rivers State? The Jonathans. Is he on terms today with Jonathans? No. I'm addressing the integrity issue right now. This was the same guy who said he was never going to impose a governor on Rivers persons. In fact, he advised Ambode to reject President Tinubu before, as at that time he wasn't the president, Tinubu's godfatherism in Lagos State. It's all over the social media, it's everywhere. You know, he loves the media, so it was a media chat. The same person who advised somebody to reject godfatherism is trying to impose godfatherism in Rivers State. Like I said, he said he was never going to impose a candidate, a governorship candidate. Today he's saying he was instrumental. He even bought the form for the governor. Is that not imposition? The same person who said he was too big to be a vice president is today the FCT minister, accepting the office that is even lower than that of a vice president. The same person who said he was going to support whoever emerged as the candidate of PDP, thinking he was going to emerge, went against Atiku because Atiku emerged and rained invectives on Tambuwa, the former then governor, who had to step down for Atiku also to emerge, and called him a traitor. So if you talk of integrity, who lacks that integrity? Now he's inciting intifada in Rivers State. They asked him, he said, if they were saying the governor should be independent, why won't the assembly members? After all, impeachment is constitutional. What are the crimes? What are the grounds for impeachment? I'll go into the 8-point agenda. What are the grounds for impeachment? What did he do? As at when the budget was even presented, because the issue of the budget was not even the grounds. The problem preceded the budget presented. That's why only 4 members were in the assembly as at when the budget was presented. They had the issues because the governor who had been pushed to the wall resisted. He was asphyxiated, he resisted. You see, every spirit revolts at tyranny. And that is why the governor said, okay, there's no problem. Today you say you build bridges and so on, flyover, at what cost? Go to Delta State today. At what cost is the governor building how many flyovers? You build a flyover for 70-something million naira. That can be investigated. Why are you so much interested in the building of flyovers and you de-emphasize human capital development? Have we asked questions? Because it keeps vaunting, I built so many flyovers. Pensioners are not paid. No promotion. No employment. Those of you who were here when JDSP was a governor, it was simultaneous. While infrastructural development was taking place, we had the human development as well, human capital development. But you're interested in building flyovers because you know the pecuniary gains. You know, one easy way of fleecing the state try to drive, whether state or national, is to embark on projects, whether they make sense or not. You're building flyovers for dead people, for the dead to fly over. They have to feed. You address the economy of the state first. And every day you say you build flyovers, at what rate? Stratospheric. Dave Umahi replied in then. When he had the beef with, when he had the quarrel with Dave Umahi said, you spend how much in building flyovers? And I spent less than that to achieve more. Dave Umahi said it. Then they were all governors. So what's this hype about you build so many flyovers and build so many flyovers? What is this hype about that? We all know why you concentrated on those things. The present governor, what has he done? We're all aware of what he did in the last December. We are even aware of the hike and increase in the salaries of local government workers. But these are the kind of people-oriented projects, policies we want. Even the bills that the so-called impostors, I say impostors, because we are all aware that once you defect, except there is schism in your party or there's a merger, you've lost your seat. There are decided cases. I'll soon go into the 8-point agenda. We're all aware of that. They are still there. That's why I say they're impostors. And he says you should go ahead to represent that budget. And you now talk of the 8-point agenda that we all know was skewed in favor of the SCT minister. Because the only thing that you can say is in favor of the governor was the issue of the impeachment. Where they said, tarry. But every other thing was in favor of the SCT minister. You're imposing commissioners on the man, a governor, and you're saying you must reappoint those persons. You must represent the budget. Meanwhile, there is a subsisting court judgment on that by Danagogo. Who made that budget legal? Because at that time, the court affirmed that you just had 5 members of the House of Assembly. And if you talk of a quorum is based on the number, the numerical strength of the Assembly. These other ones had defected in the eyes of the court. And it was on that premise it passed a judgment. So what is wrong? If only for, because they had already defected. So what is wrong? If you have just 4 members of the House of Assembly, does that mean that the governor was not going to present a budget because you had just 4 members of the House of Assembly? And INEC has even refused to conduct by-elections or supplementary elections, they call them. So the governor had no choice but to present that budget. And the 8-point agenda is not a legal document. That's what you should also understand. It's a political solution. It will awaken reminiscence of the Aburi. When Aburi will stand on Juku and Gowan. If we all recall, most of you were not born. If not, the lies all of you. The Civil War, that led to the Civil War. When Gowan brought back The super palm sex told him, my friend, you just sold Nigeria. I'm just trying to summarize that. Look at this, it's not in the interest of the country. And he reneged and said no. And that's why we have the Nigeria we have today. And even there at that meeting, one or two persons refused to append their signatures. Even if the governor had come back to say, Mr. President said this, therefore this must be done, Rivers people will revolt. Let me be honest with you. The support the governor is having today is not necessarily because he's been loved so much. Let me put it that way. As at that time, now probably because of his new policies and so on, yes, the love is increasing. But as at that time, to a lot of persons, to a lot of Rivers persons who have been seared in the flame of oppression, dictatorship, it was like Kumbaya. Thank God. That era is past. A president once died in this country. And for the first time, Nigerians celebrated. Rather than cry, they were buying drinks for people. Happy. Let me not say a head of state. Happy that he died. It was almost a similar situation. The only difference is that in the case of the FCT minister, he didn't die. We don't pray for him to die as well. But people were begging for that tenure to come to an end. Because we were sweltering with the heat of dictatorship. Rivers persons were asphyxiated. And even when this governor came on board, a lot of persons were scared that he was going to continue. That it was the Wike's third term in office. And so when we saw that difference, we said, oh, and that's why you see the concourse. Like he asked a question yesterday, was it yesterday? When he said, are they going to say this crowd is also rented? Because they talked of the Thanksgiving. Are they going to say we also rented this crowd? We're talking about when they came to government house. They didn't rent them. It's just a referendum of the people's approval of a governor because of his policies. And an expression, a manifestation of the disapproval of his predecessor. They are just trying to compare. And so you see a man who has been able to heal us out of the mountain of despair. And that man is being appreciated. It's organic. You don't look. As I speak to you here, on my honor, I shouldn't have said the Shegu is here because he's a pastor. So he might frown at what I'm going to say, being a pastor. But the government is not even aware that I'm having this breakthrough. I've not even talked to him. I've not called him one day. He has also not called me one day. But those who know Obinna will tell you that I don't need to be called to speak. I talk when I feel like or when I'm called upon to talk. That's my policy. And I'm happy with it. Very happy. I did not resign because of money. A few weeks to my resignation, I submitted my letter to Shegu. I told him, so time I'll go. Honestly, I was being given my money on a monthly basis. In fact, by this governor now, Fubara, he was the DFO. Not that. It has to do with conscience. I just wasn't happy. And against all advice and so on, I said, no, I will go. So whenever I do these things, they gladden my heart. They gladden my heart because to me it's like a responsibility fulfilled to our society. And I'm very happy what the governor said, when he said, because at the point we were thinking he was too quiet. And like Martin Luther King said, if you become too cool that you end up in a deep freezer. And that's the end of you, when you end up in a deep freezer. Many people were mistaking his silence for weakness. And yesterday he thundered. Now, a lot of us were happy, they encouraged us. In fact, that's why we're even having the press briefing. Because before now you talk, he'll tell you, did I tell you to talk? Leave him, he's my guy. But I ask a question again. For how long will Phoebe's birds tremble in silence before their owners? For those who did, the gods are not to blame. For how long? That you supported me in my marriage does not mean you should sleep with my wife. That you supported me now does not mean you should dictate to my children what to do. You should observe your limitations, appreciate your limits. And that's why we are here. We are here because of what I refer to as pestilence of Godfatherism and its resistance. The governor said enough is enough. Rivers people have said enough is enough. If today Governor Fubara goes against the people, if it's anti-people, you'll be shocked. After all, the same support he's getting today was even the same, if not more, when Wike came on board in 2014. If not more. But there was this animosity because of his style of governance. Impervious to criticisms. Now today you're angry with Dr. Peter Odili, you said he's your God on earth, simply because he said stop the impeachment process. It's not necessary. We can reconcile. That's why you're angry. You're a God. So it's a matter of least servant and least Lord. You're a God. Nobody can talk to you. Whatever you do is correct. Right or wrong, people must be subservient. No, we're not going to accept that. Even those in Abuja, how many persons, how many human capital are we talking about? Every day, what? Construction, demolition, construction, demolition. That's what you hear. The Tinubu today wasn't the same Tinubu he said, it wasn't the same APC, he said, okay, who is even worse? You are in PDP. As a PDP governor, you're supporting an APC candidate. Your boy is just like a mole in that system. So, which integrity are we talking about? What integrity are we talking about? The same party you said you can never associate with, that one is cancer. 4. Your own is malaria. It can be resolved. Today you say no. The only sin of the governor is allow me to govern in the interest of the people. That's the only sin. And the Foreign Minister said, no. I brought you there. He said, after all, in other states, when they impose the governors, they provide all the commissioners. He said it. This was the same man who said, once I hand over, I will have nothing to do with governors, except my advice is being sought. You all covered that. So what is the sin of the governor? I want to govern. Allow me to govern. Whatever agreement we had, okay, it could be met midway. You say no. Most of you will feign ignorance, but you're all aware that when the governor was sworn in newly, the minister was always in Port Harcourt. You all know why. There was even the rumor. The air was suffused with rumor of even have to, for him, before signing a mandate, the minister would have to approve. That's no governance. Because at the end of the day, they will not say yes of Wike's government. They will say Sim Fubara's government in 4 years did nothing or did something. So a lot of us are clamoring for the support of, and any day his anti-people will also march out against him too. Any day. Some of us supported the FCBC in 2014, 2015. Some of us worked for him. And when we got tired and we were not happy, we left. So any day too, the governor says, I'm now anti-people, I'm now a god. He'll also meet with forces in River State. This is not the first time. We've had the likes of, from Ada George to today. And it's also not going to be the last. So that's the whole essence of this one.